Recording in progress.
Yeah. Now we still don't see the screen of your face. You have to.
Turn on.
Well, outside we see you.
No, but
Outside we
turn
see
on.
you.
I turn on.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So, good morning, everyone. This is Hill workshop. Today we are very honored to have invited Professor Takashi HIBIKI to come here to talk on the 12 tips to understand the Fukushima situation. Now, Professor Takashi HIBIKI is the chair professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering of City University of Hong Kong. He is also Professor Emeritus, School of Nuclear Engineering of Purdue University, a very famous university in the USA on nuclear engineering. Professor, he is granted the Global STEM Professorship from Hong Kong government. He is also the director of Hong Kong Jockey Club STEM Laboratory of Innovative Thermal Fluid Science. His research experience includes multi-phase flow mechanics, heat and mass transfer, and nuclear reactor safety. He is internationally known as the author of a classic two-phase flow textbook, Thermal Fluid Dynamics of Two-Phase Flow. He is also fellow member of several and important academic societies, including American Nuclear Society and the Japan Society of Mechanical Engineers. He is also listed as one of the world's top 2% scientists reported by Stanford University. So we are indeed very honored and proud to have Professor to speak on this subject. Now, right now, I would like to request everybody who is joining us by Zoom to turn off your mic so that there won't be any interference. We will have about 1.5 hour presentation by Professor HIBIKI, and after that, we can have half an hour of Q&A. Today, the talk is mainly focused on the scientific aspect of the Fukushima situation. So please understand. Okay, I turned it over to Professor. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for kind introduction. Actually, today, this is a great privilege for me to give you a seminar about Fukushima situation. Today, I'm going to give you 12 tips to understand the Fukushima situation well. So the first slide shows today's presentation outline. Actually, I'm going to give you the 12, tips right here. Then blue characters is basically English, and orange characters, translated into the Cantonese. I hope my translation will not be so wrong, so bad. So first, I'm going to talk about Fukushima now. Okay, so that if you hear about nuclear accident, you may think about Chernobyl, very, very disaster. Okay, but actually Fukushima is almost back to the normal. So before I talk about the Fukushima situation, I'm going to briefly give you the statistics of Fukushima. Okay, so actually in Japan there are 45 prefectures. So the biggest prefecture is Hokkaido. Second largest is Iwate. Third largest prefecture in Japan is actually Fukushima. Fukushima is kind of rich prefecture about the fruits and agriculture staff, and the fisheries, okay? And people call Fukushima as fruits kingdom, peach, grape, apple, so many delicious fruits are produced. Also, Fukushima produced very high quality rice, okay? Then basically Japanese sake is made of rice. So Japanese sake is, the Fukushima sake is considered to be the #1 in Japan as well as in the world. Sometime, Fukushima sake got the champion in international competition. Also, Fukushima is far from 240 kilometers far away from Tokyo, and actually only 90 minutes from Shinkansen. So before Fukushima accident happened, Fukushima also produced a lot of electric energy to the Tokyo area. Then go to the right-hand side. Actually, as you know, the March in 2021, Fukushima, that very big earthquake with a magnitude 9 hit the East Japan area. Then tsunami hit the Fukushima area. Then, Fukushima is basically destroyed like this. Flooding happened and building destroyed by the tsunami. So this means that Fukushima people are suffered from tsunami and also earthquake. In addition to this, due to the Fukushima accident, radiation damage also caused trouble to the Fukushima people. But those three, that the tsunami and earthquake, radiation, those three plus reputation damage, okay? Actually, as you can see here, tsunami damage, earthquake damage almost recovered completely like this. But actually the reputation damage still alive, still there. Actually, this map, you can see that a square part is basically Fukushima Daiichi power plant, okay? Then about 6 kilometers north, Ukedo Fishery Harbor is there. Also, about 3 kilometers away from Fukushima Daiichi, you can see the Futaba town office. As you can see the photo, this fishery harbor already opened. Also, Futaba town office also opened. Only 6 kilometers, 3 kilometers. So as you can see here, Fukushima situation is totally different from Chernobyl situation. Actually, the Fukushima, only 2.3% of the Fukushima prefecture area, those are the restricted area. But about 98% area of Fukushima, people can go there, no problem. So this means that, of course, 2.3% area, people can take the, say, wild mushroom. But those mushroom caught in this restricted area cannot be shipped to the market. Okay, so only safe product can be in the market. So actually, I had a chance to visit Fukushima last March. Then I talked to the many people. Then people said that, I asked them, what do you want people knows about Fukushima? Then Fukushima people said, we are back to the normal. We are not under the accident. We are back to the normal. They hope that people in the world should know we return to the normal life. This is their, hope, because people fear Fukushima very much. Fukushima is damaged completely like Chernobyl. That's the reason why, like a fish or, agriculture product, if brand name is Fukushima, people want to buy. People do not want to buy because of the reputation damage. But actually, radiation level of the Fukushima product is very low, much lower than the regulation level. Then pretty much the same. So this is the Fukushima now. Then second slide is address the main premise of safety assessment. First of all, what I want to emphasize is that no absolute safety exists. So this means that the safety is defined by 1 minus risk. Risk cannot be 0. That's the reason why safety cannot be 1. This means that as far as even small risk exists, perfect safety cannot exist. So when I read a newspaper, somebody said, government should, guarantee that absolute safety. But in real life, absolute safety cannot be achieved. Okay. Then, for example, we take the airplane. The reason is airplane. If we take an airplane, we can have a huge benefit, but still we have a risk due to the accident, right? Then when we calculate probability of death due to the airplane crash, the probability is only 0.00048%. So this probability is the same as like this. Every day we take an airplane for next 500 years. Then you may get the one accident. So people know that people consider the airplane is safe. That's the reason why, what I'm saying is benefit, risk. Those are important. If benefit is much, much larger than risk, people accept. So, for example, the Fukushima case, what is the benefit to release the ALPS-treated water into the ocean? So actually, Fukushima power plant should be decommissioned safely. But in order to do that, they need to have a space. But currently, those spaces are occupied by bulky 1,000 tanks. If they cannot remove the 1,000 tanks, there is no space to work. Also, if we keep the 1,000 tanks forever, then leakage risk also possible. Then what is the risk to release the ALPS-treated water into the ocean? I'm going to explain later, but the risk is very negligible. So benefit is, we have a working place, then no leakage, risk. Then what is risk? Risk is negligible. Then Japanese government decided to release the water into the ocean. Then another important thing is when I read a newspaper, then some scientists who are not nuclear scientists, some scientists emphasize the risk. Okay, this argument is very risky because press people may not know what is the risk. So, of course, as I said, even if probability is very, very low, like 1 over 1 million, still risk exists. But if experts say there is a risk, then press release, oh, this is risk, then layman has very bad impression. Wow, this ALPS-treated water release has a risk, very dangerous. But expert should be very careful. When he explains the risk, they should provide qualitative estimation. What's the risk? 10%, 50%, 90%, or 0.00001%. Otherwise, this is not scientific argument. When I read a newspaper, some scientists emphasize negligible risk. Then this is not a fair way. So this is my impression. So the first point is no absolute safety exists. Always risk exists. But when we compare the benefit and the risk, then if benefit is much, much higher than risk, then we use it. For example, the vehicle driving a car. So the risk is much, much higher, but the benefit is very large. That's the reason why people use the car. Okay. The second important thing is nuclear industry always go with proven technology and industrially mature technology, because nuclear industry, the top priority is safety. Okay, so nuclear industry prefer proven and industrially mature technology. So I'm going to explain this later a little bit, but Japanese government decided to release ALPS-treated water into the ocean. Then some people just produce some idea. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? For example, why don't you utilize this water to mix the concrete? Then we can, dispose the water safely, right? But this is not a proven technology. This is not industrially mature technology. That's the reason why Japanese government cannot use those technology, because Japanese government has a responsibility. Okay, again, always proven in industrially mature technology. Okay, so this is a very important. Of course, people can have idea. Okay, but this idea should be proven. Otherwise, we cannot use it. Then third point is a simple evaluation model with conservative assumptions used in nuclear safety assessment. Okay, this is a little bit different point from the science, because the measure point, for example, me as a scientist, when I develop some equation, purpose is to predict the phenomena accurately, but nuclear engineering predict the phenomena accurately. This is not the point. So that their purpose for a safety assessment is they get some number very, very conservatively. This is a different point. That's the reason why nuclear industry always utilize very simple evaluation model, but instead they apply so many conservative assumptions. When I read some newspapers, then some scientists who are not the nuclear engineering field, then they said, oh, utilize the model is too simple, then criticize it. But for me, come on, you do not know the nuclear engineering. Nuclear engineering always go with the simple evaluation model, but instead we utilize very conservative assumptions. For example, when we read IAEA comprehensive report, only 130 pages. How many times conservative word appear? 31 times. Every 4 pages, conservative. Because Tokyo Electric Power Company, Nuclear Regulation Agency applies so many conservative assumptions. So the IAEA Director General Grossi always said that Japanese approach is hyper conservative in response to the interview. Okay. Then fourth point, international safety standard is used as an objective blueprint for safety assessment. So the international safety standards are created based on international expert. Also, this international expert are invited from many countries. That's the reason why this is a kind of like internationally consensus agreed standard. So IAEA stick with international safety standard upon the consensus. So those 4 points are very important to discuss this ALPS-treated water discharge issue scientifically. So next, I'm going to explain about the 3 kinds of water exist. Okay. So first, I'm going to explain the situation very briefly. As you know, the 2011 Fukushima accident happened, right? Then due to the severe accident, a nuclear reactor core is melted. Then this melted core is dropped in a pedestal, like a ground level. Then this becomes debris. If we do not cool down the debris is still producing the heat. So we need to utilize the water to cool down the fuel debris. Of course, when water is contacted with the fuel debris, some part of the radioactive materials will be transferred to the water. So this is the contaminated water. Yes, contaminated water includes several radioactive nuclide. Then we cannot release it into the ocean. In addition to this, around the Fukushima power plant, groundwater is migrated into the debris part. So that also rainfall, just hit the debris. So the cooling water to the debris, also underground water, also rain, go into the debris pot. Those create the contaminated water. So that if we keep contaminated water in a tank like here, then this water tank produce so much radiation. In that case, people cannot walk close to the water tank. So in order to reduce the radiation level of this water tank, then ALPS system is created. So people think that the ALPS is based on new technology. No, ALPS is a very old technology because ALPS just utilize a chemical absorption method. Chemical absorption method is very common in a chemical engineering. By the way, I graduated from chemical engineering. I know this technology very well. So people think that, ALPS is a new technology. What is the reliability? Actually, this is very reliable because those are not new technology, okay? Then using the ALPS system, advanced liquid processing system, 62 radionuclides can be removed. So remaining thing is only tritium, okay? Tritium cannot be removed by the ALPS-treated ALPS system. Then water, including the tritium, without radioactive materials, then this is so-called ALPS-treated water, okay? This ALPS-treated water cannot be released to the ocean because the tritium exists. That's the reason why this ALPS-treated water is diluted by the seawater. Then finally, Japanese government planned to discharge the ALPS-treated water, diluted ALPS-treated water into the ocean this summer or fall. Then here, you can see that there are three water exist. First one is contaminated water, okay? Contaminated water correspond to the second, figures, okay? So water contacted with like a debris, then this is a contaminated water, okay? But after we apply the ALPS system to the contaminated water, so the radioactive materials would be cleaner. This is ALPS-treated water, okay? So currently, ALPS-treated water is stored in 1,000 tanks. Total volume is 1.3 million tons, very huge. Then when we discharge the ALPS-treated water, we dilute it. So another one is a diluted ALPS-treated water, okay? So when I read a newspaper confuse those three water: contaminated water, ALPS-treated water, diluted ALPS-treated water. If Japanese government release the contaminated water directly into the ocean, as a nuclear scientist, I really oppose it. But Japanese government will not release contaminated water into the ocean. The water to be discharged into the ocean is diluted ALPS-treated water. So radiation level is negligible. So here, but unfortunately, newspaper, radio, and SNS are confused by those things. So they often utilize contaminated water. But again, Japanese government never released the contaminated water into the ocean. The water discharged to be the diluted ALPS-treated water. This is one of the key points. So next thing is, so somebody said, of course, normal nuclear reactor, not accident, also release the tritium into the ocean, okay? People know it. I'm going to explain this one later. Then people argue that, even normal nuclear reactor release the, tritium into the ocean. Then why, ALPS-treated water release into the ocean? Is this a problem? So some people said, yes, this is a problem because ALPS-treated water was used to be contacted with, fuel debris. So that's the reason why this is a problem. But actually, important thing is right here in the right diagram. So the left-hand side, contaminated water from accident reactor. So obviously, this contaminated water includes so many radioactive materials, okay? But as I said, ALPS system is applied to this contaminated water, then clean up, then become ALPS-treated water. But this ALPS-treated water containing tritium. That's the reason why, we dilute this ALPS-treated water with seawater. Then regulatory safe standard applied. Then radiation level of diluted ALPS-treated water is very, very low, almost negligible. That's the reason why discharge to the environment. So if we look at the right-hand side, discharge water from an ordinary reactor, okay? Due to the reaction between the neutron and the deuterium and the other contamination, and then tritium is created, even in a normal reactor, okay? Of course, those, and also a radioactive, smaller amount of the radioactive materials, but those radioactive materials also removed by the cooling, by the filtration and so on. Same situation. Then treated cooling water containing tritium, then this also checked with a regulation safety standard. Then if this radiation level is smaller than standard, then they discharge. So this means that ultimately regulatory safety standards are applied to the ALPS-treated water and also treated cooling water produced from the normal reactor. So the same thing. But some people said that ALPS-treated water is different from the ordinary reactor water. Before ALPS system is applied, yes. But after ALPS system applied, basically the same. So those are the different points. Okay. Then, as I said, then basically those are the substantially the same. Okay. Also, IAEA, International Agency, International Atomic Energy Agency, announced the safety assessment. Then, according to the safety assessment, negligible radiological impact of controlled gradual discharge of the diluted ALPS-treated water into the ocean on people and the environment. This is a final conclusion from the IAEA. So next, let's talk about disposal method of ALPS-treated water. Okay, the reason why I bring this one as a tip 5. The Japanese government decided to discharge the ALPS-treated water into the ocean, but some people oppose. Why don't you use different approach? Okay, but actually, 2013 to 2016, treated water task force are created under the IAEA. So the this treated water task force, Japanese people are not included. Then they spend 3 years. In addition to this, from 2016 to 2020, ALPS subcommittee was created under the IAEA. Again, Japanese scientists are not invited. So they spend 6 years to discuss what is the most safety and plausible method to discharge the ALPS-treated water into the ocean. Okay. Then basically, conclusion is like this. The ALPS subcommittee report concluded that of the 5 disposal methods analyzed in detail, out of many more theoretical options considered, vapor release and controlled discharge into the sea were the most practical options taking into account safety concerns, the existing technology available, and time constraints. The report also concluded that discharge into the sea could be implemented more reliably with respect to mitigating environmental and human health impacts, given that this discharge method is commonly used among nuclear plants around the world. Discharge facility had positive track record for safety and control discharges into the sea can be monitored most accurately. I took this sentence from IAEA report, page 5. Okay. Then important thing is, they check many, options, including a theoretical one. Then they narrow down the options to the 5, like geosphere injection, discharge to the sea, vapor release, hydrogen release, and the gradient burial. So the one of the most important thing is after the ALPS-treated water is discharged into the environment, Japanese government need to monitor the tritium level. Okay, so for example, the geospherical injection method, it's really difficult to monitor it. Okay, so the monitoring is one of the key technology. Okay, also geospherical injection, hydrogen release, underground burial. No experience so far, no proven technology. As I already explained, nuclear industry prefer the proven technology and experience. So based on this, what are the options? Option is only 2. First one is discharge to the sea, because basically, even now, I'm going to explain this later, but almost all nuclear power plants release the tritium into the ocean, including Japan, Korea, Taiwan, China. Many countries release the tritium into the ocean. This means that we know this is safe. Also, we have experience. Also, when the ALPS-treated water is discharged into the ocean, it's easier to monitor the tritium level because we put some sampling point, then we can basically take the seawater, then we can analyze it. So monitoring is easy. Vapor release also have experience, but when we compare, I mean the discharging to the sea, vapor release, those two has experience. Then ALPS subcommittee brought the recommendation. Probably discharge to the sea, vapor release. Those two are the plausible option, safely discharge of the ALPS-treated water into the environment. Based on the recommendation, Japanese government just had a huge discussion. What's the best way? Then final conclusion is discharge ALPS-treated water into the ocean. The reason is when the ALPS water vapor is released to the atmosphere. For example, once typhoon comes, okay, then this atmosphere is below somewhere. Then it's almost impossible to monitor it. So monitoring readiness, the discharge to the sea is much, much better. So Japanese government decided to discharge the ALPS-treated water into the ocean. So this decision was made in 2021 in a basic policy, okay? But after that, Japanese government asked IAEA to review the safety assessment, also like a regulation plan and monitoring plan. Actually, Japanese government didn't need to ask IAEA because important thing is discharging ALPS-treated water into the ocean is governmental decision. Nobody can complain that actually. But in order to secure the transparency, objectiveness, Japanese government take one more step. This means that IAEA, this is the only authority in a nuclear energy in the world. Then Japanese government asked IAEA to review the safety and the monitoring and the regulation. Then IAEA spent 2 years to assess. Then they said, good to go. Then this IAEA comprehensive report was delivered to the Japanese government on 4th July this year, almost 1 month ago. Another thing is some people criticize that, oh, this one is the cheapest way, okay? That's the reason why Japanese government took the discharging the ALPS-treated water to the ocean. This is not correct. This is a false information. This is not the cost problem. The major priority is like safety and the readiness and the experience, not like the cost. So next one is the tritium, okay? So actually some people may not know the tritium, okay? So I'm going to explain what is a tritium. Tritium is toxic, or tritium is poison? Actually, no, okay? Actually, everything is made of atoms, okay? The atoms with the same number of protons, but the different numbers of the neutrons are called isotopes. For example, the hydrogen, like now, like a 21st century new energy source, like a hydrogen, okay? Hydrogen, only 1 proton here, okay? Deuterium, like 1 neutrons here. Then tritium, 2 neutrons. But proton, only 1, proton, only 1, proton, only 1. Then those are the relatives, okay? Then ordinary hydrogen, like a protium, this is not radioactive. Then deuterium, this is not also radioactive. But the tritium is a little bit unstable, then this is radioactive. So that when the tritium is broken, then very weak beta ray. Beta ray is an electric beam. But this beta ray is very, very weak. So the beta ray emitted from tritium can be stopped by the only piece of the paper. Only 1 paper put it, then we can, seal the beta ray. So this means that the beta ray produced from the tritium is among the weakest radiation. Okay. Then actually tritium is exists everywhere. For example, the tap water, 1 becquerel per liter. By the way, becquerel, 1 becquerel represents a rate of radioactive decay equal to 1 disintegration per second. Okay, so even tap water, 1 becquerel, and the human body, tens of becquerels. Okay, and rain in Japan include 220 trillion becquerel per year. Actually, I was born in 1963. At the time, nuclear weapon test occurred many, many times. At the time, tritium level in the rain is much, much higher than now. Okay, then so probably you already understand that there are 3 isotopes: hydrogen and the deuterium, tritium. Okay, so in ALPS-treated water, actually mixture of water and heavy water and tritium water. Water is represented by 1 oxygen and 2 hydrogen. Tritium water is expressed by 1 oxygen, 1 hydrogen, and 1 tritium. Of course, theoretically, 2 tritium, 1 oxygen, this is also possible. But most of the tritium water has a H2O. Of course, T2O could be possible, but usually H2O. Okay, so actually the ALPS-treated water is a mixture of water, tritium water, and heavy water. Heavy water case OHD. Okay, but concentration of heavy water, tritium water is very, very low, almost negligible. Okay, then like WHO tritium limit for drinking water is 10,000 becquerel per liter. actually tap water, 1 becquerel per liter, right? Even the concentration of tritium is 10,000 times higher than the tap water, no problem to drink, okay? Then when Japanese government discharge the diluted ALPS-treated water, what is the tritium level? 1,500 becquerel per liter or less. This means that 1/7 of WHO treatment limit for drinking water. So this means that even, of course, diluted ALPS-treated water is basically diluted by the seawater, so that we cannot drink seawater. But if we do not care about the seawater, only we talk about the treatment level, even if you drink the ALPS-treated water, no problem at all, okay? So this is the point, okay? So what I'm saying is actually tritium is not like toxic, and also tritium is not like, poison, okay? So people very fear about the tritium, but not like tritium is poison, okay? So here, then you can see here, this is a photo of the Fukushima. 1,000 tanks stored ALPS-treated water exist, as you can see here. So unless we sweep out those tanks, we cannot use those space as a working space to decommission the nuclear power plant. So far, 1.3 million tons of water are stored, okay? Then 1.3 million tons is very, very huge. But what is the amount of tritium water? Only this much. 1,000 tanks. Then from 1,000 tanks, we collect tritium water. What is the amount? Only this much, okay? Then Japanese government decided to spend 30 years to discharge ALPS-treated water into the ocean. This means 1 month, 1 eye drop to the Pacific Ocean, okay? Do you think this is a very dangerous? Intuitively, should be very safe, right? Every month, tritium water is dropped into the ocean, only 1 drop per month. So this is a fact, okay? Shouldn't be so dangerous, okay? So then let's talk about the radiation level, okay? Effect of the environment. As I already explained, WHO guideline for drinking water, 10,000 becquerel per liter. Diluted ALPS-treated water, tritium level, radiation level is 1,500 becquerel per liter, okay? 10,000, 1,500 sounds like very big, but this is a magic of the unit. Those are very small amount, okay? Then this 1,500 is 1/7, okay? And also Japanese government has their own regulation of the tritium release. Actually, standards is 40 times larger than this, okay? 60,000 becquerel per liter is a regulation standard. So the diluted ALPS-treated water, only 1/40. So the very small amount will be released gradually into the ocean. Then numerical simulation is performed, how this treated water dispersed, okay? Then as you can see here, here is a Fukushima nuclear power plant, okay? Then from Fukushima power plant, they prepare the tunnel, underground tunnel. Then from 1 kilometer away from Fukushima Daiichi, Fukushima power plant, like 1 kilometer, away from the Fukushima, then they discharge into the ocean, okay? Then very, very near the discharged exit, a little bit tritium level is up. But if you are away from, say, 1 or 2 kilometers from the discharge, point, we cannot distinguish. Is this a seawater without treatment, without ALPS-treated water, or this is a seawater with a ALPS-treated water? We cannot distinguish. So this means that the negligible level. Okay. Also, IAEA report said that negligible transboundary impact of the diluted ALPS-treated water discharge. So some people say that this is a Japan problem. Why don't you dispose the ALPS-treated water within Japan? Yes, we did, because this ALPS-treated water will not transmit over the boundary. So this means that even ALPS-treated water is discharged. Those, tritium will not go to the Korea, will not go to Taiwan, will not go to the Hong Kong. Okay, so that we cannot distinguish it. Okay. Also, discharge happened 1 kilometer from the Fukushima Daiichi. So this is a territory in Japan. So substantially, like ALPS-treated water is disposed within Japan. Okay. Important thing is if ALPS-treated water is so harmful, why Japanese government dispose it? Because first people who are suffered is Japanese people. I don't think, if this is too dangerous, government wouldn't do that. The next one is, as I said, discharging the tritium into the ocean has long history and experience, right? Actually, here you can see Republic of Korea, like Wolsom nuclear power plant, discharge tritium like a 71 terabecquerel into the ocean 2 years ago. Also, like a Kori nuclear power plant, 49 terabecquerel. Taiwan Mansan nuclear power plant, they discharge 35 terabecquerel. China, Honyang, 90 terabecquerel. Shenzhen, 218, and Ningde, 102, and Yanjian, 112. So already those amount of the tritium are safely discharged into the ocean. So this means that what I'm saying is tritium, those amount very harmless. Then as you can see, the Fukushima Daiichi only 22 below 22 terabecquerel. This is almost 10 times lower than Xinjiang 218, right? I don't mean that China nuclear power plant do the dangerous things. No, China nuclear power plant also comply with the standard. As I said, this 22 is almost 140, right? So that even 10 times higher, still okay. So the level of discharging tritium into the ocean in Japan is at those levels. Okay, continuously over 50 years, tritium water is discharged into the ocean. This is also not a new technology. Then, so far, no radiological effects have been found to be caused by tritium. Okay, scientific paper and the medical paper, no effects are identified. So next one is IAEA comprehensive report. This IAEA comprehensive report is available on IAEA website for free, okay? 130 pages. Then this IAEA comprehensive report is composed of 5 parts. First one is introduction. Second one is assessment of consistency with the fundamental safe principles. Part 3, assessment of consistency with safety requirements. Part 4, monitoring, analysis, and corroboration. Part 5, future activities. Okay, so introduction talk about the background and the comprehensive report structure, and also what is the international safety standard. And the part 2 when we discuss about the safety, then IAEA standard asks us to comply with 10 fundamentals. First one is responsibility for safety. Obviously, TEPCO is responsible. Role of the government. Government produce nuclear regulatory, agency, which is an independent organization. Even, Japanese government try to force to discharge ALPS-treated water into the ocean. Japanese government cannot do it because unless nuclear regulation agency say okay, they cannot do it. So the independent regulation body is already established. Leadership and the management for safety, obviously Tokyo Electric Power Company and nuclear regulatory agency and basically the leadership. Justification means I already explained that safety, risk, and benefit, right? So the Japanese government need to discuss about the benefit in accordance with against the risk, so that those 10 fundamentals are key. Okay, part 3. I mean that part 1, part 2 can be read by non-technical people. Okay, so when you download part 1, part 2, even without technical background, you can read it. But part 3 are a little bit difficult, technical. Then part 3 discuss about safety assessment, because Tokyo Electric Power Company, Nuclear Regulation Agency, NRA, did a safety assessment. They applied many, model and assumption and calculation. Then IAEA check the safety one by one. Then part 4, monitoring, analysis, and the collaboration is very important. For example, the TEPCO release the ALPS-treated water into the ocean. Okay, then TEPCO take the sample. Then TEPCO measure it. Then TEPCO said, this is safe. This doesn't work, right? Only TEPCO do those things, doesn't work. That's the reason why we need to invite third party to monitor what happened near the Fukushima ocean. That's the reason why Nuclear Regulation Agency or Japanese government, IAEA, heavily involved in the monitoring and activities. So the first of all, important thing is a proficiency test. This means that unless TEPCO, Tokyo Electric Power Company, is not certified, their measurement is junk. So the IAEA carefully check inter-laboratory comparison test. So IAEA ask about 10 laboratory to measure the radioactive level. Then they compare. Then TEPCO and other laboratory result is the same. Then they certified. Okay. So if new laboratory would like to participate, they need to go through the rigorous process to be certified. Okay. So the IAEA emphasized, IAEA commit before, during, after discharge. Okay. Also, Mr. Mariano Grossi, who is the Director General of IAEA, emphasized this is scientific report. This is IAEA neutral. Also, full consensus reached, because somebody just criticized that. Oh, not all country consensus, but no. Actually, the IAEA invited the many scientists from different countries, like 10 or 11 countries. Then they all got the consensus. Okay, so they apply internationally agreed nuclear safety standard. Okay, so here listed IAEA task force includes internationally recognized experts with extensive experience from a wide range of technical specialties from Argentina, Australia, Canada, China, France, the Marshall Islands, the Republic of Korea, the Russia Federation, the United Kingdom, and the United States, and Vietnam. Those scientists participate in this task force to create this IAEA comprehensive report. Again, they spent 2 years to get the conclusions. Now, I have 2 more tips. reliability of engineering system. Okay, important thing is somebody argued that reliability ALPS, but IAEA report clearly stated ALPS product ALPS efficiency is not the concern. The reason is after I mean that the ALPS-treated water anyway measured radiation level in ALPS-treated water is measured directly. That's the reason why if ALPS system doesn't work, they need to redo the purification process again and again. So monitoring is the ultimate way. That's the reason why they do not care about the ALPS system. I mean the performance so much. Okay, but some people misguided or ALPS reliability should be discussed. No, actually, important thing is radiation level before discharge. Okay, then ALPS system is not the issue. Then right-hand side figure like this. This is a discharging system. Okay, so the 30 tanks, actually 35, 30 tanks plus 5 extra tanks are prepared for discharging. Okay, first, ALPS-treated water are introduced into the 10 tanks. Then they measure, they homogenize the ALPS-treated water. Then basically 35 tanks are utilized. Then finally, after measurement is done, then they secure the safety. Then this ALPS-treated water is moved to the mixing facility. Then around the mixing facility, ALPS-treated water is mixed with seawater, then diluted more than 100 times, then discharged. Okay, as you can see here, then discharging place is 1 kilometer away from this facility. By the way, this elevation is a 30 meter above the sea level. This means that the last time the Fukushima tsunami hit the Fukushima power plant, but the tsunami height is 15 meter. So the Tokyo Electric Power Company make this height double, 30 meter. 30, not like a 15. Even 15, magnitude 9, 15. This is the highest, but double. This means that this tank should be very safe for a tsunami. Okay, so in addition to this, several redundant systems are incorporated in the system. For example, the emergency shutdown valve and the blah blah blah. Okay, then in addition to this, if catastrophic accident happen, what is the effect to the environment? So that they utilize a super conservative, oxygen. This means that here we have 30 tanks, right? So that suddenly these 30 tanks blow up, then ALPS-treated water in 30 tanks is discharged to the ocean without diluting. Then what will happen? Still, radiation effect is about 100 times less than the standard level. So even catastrophic accident happen, then effect to the environment is negligible. The reason is, tritium level is so low. That's the reason why, even those 30 tanks, discharged without, diluting should be okay. Then last slide is right here. This is taken from IAEA Director General interview. This Mariano Grossi, Director General, said, the approach to the discharge of ALPS-treated water into the ocean and associated activities by TEPCO, NRA, and the government of Japan are consistent with relevant international safety standards. The discharge of the ALPS-treated water as currently planned by TEPCO will have a negligible radiological impact on people and the environment. Those two are the conclusion of IAEA assessment, comprehensive assessment report. Also, those two sentences appear in an IAEA comprehensive report. Then those last two bullet, those are the sentence given by the Marino Grossi in his interview. With the report, barriers that still remain, such as important restrictions, will lose their scientific basis, and the reputation of this wonderful industry will be restored and regain its status. Wonderful industry means a fishery industry, okay? Because now reputation damage destroyed, like a fisherman life. So the Marino Grossi hope that this IAEA report is contribute to re-establish the fishery, industry. The last message from him is while the IAEA says that the release of treated water is being done in a manner that will not harm the environment, fish, water quality, or sediments, it is obvious that if some people restrict importation of fish from Fukushima, it is being done for other than scientific or commercial reasons. Okay. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah. We would like to thank Professor Hibiki for his excellent speech. Now, we would like to see if there's anyone would like to ask any questions, so that Professor Hibiki can explain. Anyone?
Yes, I have a question, please. My name is Alex. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Professor, for your excellent presentation.
Thank you very much.
And it's very, very comprehensive, I would say, and really appreciate it. And I'm not a scientist, and I'm not, while I'm following a lot of articles and reviews of this whole issue, I have to confess I don't know all the technical issues. So including the IAEA report. But as a layman, as somebody who lives in the most populous region in the world, and we are so near to Japan, and all of us in Hong Kong in particular eat a lot of seafood. And while you make a lot of arguments in favor of the disposal of you don't like the word contaminated water, but it's still contaminated water in the eyes and the stomach of the people who are eating seafood, that they are contaminated. And so despite all the very good arguments, I don't want my next generations, future generations, to be suffering. Now, after 30 years, when we're talking about 30 years is a long time, so I find it hard to understand many of the arguments that are made. For example, for expedience purpose, because of timing is of essence, you need to do this quickly. And you said that there are no technology available today, and therefore you need to dispose of the water very quickly, starting this month. And I'm asking a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions. I listen very carefully, probably more than when I attended the universities as a student. And I find it very hard to accept all the arguments because it's so narrowly focused, including the IAEA report. It's only focused on whether the disposal of the water is safe or not, but without really reviewing all the alternatives convincingly to the world, especially those in the region, that disposing the water today is the best solution for the world, not for Japan. You mentioned about pouring water into only the Japan water, but we know we all share in the food chain of the whole, anything that comes from the ocean or even those that come from the land that are somehow affected because of the food chain, right? From the water and so on and so forth, right? And therefore, when you talk about timing is of essence, I find it very hard to accept the argument. And by the way, I'm not political, right? All my questions are purely as a layman, all right? I'm not being political because we are Chinese and we are part of China, none. I'm just purely talking about being a layman. And for the future generation. So when you're talking about, oh, you take 30 years to dispose of, but think about the effect on the 4 or 3 billion people around in this region who will be suffering from this 30 years later when we will see the effect of pouring water over 30 years into the ocean. Nobody knows. And you mentioned all this been proven and you meet all the international standard, but nobody can say for sure. There is no, that it would not affect the future generation. And nobody can say that this is, and in fact, people are saying that this is the first time that contaminated water, despite all the dilution, are being poured into the ocean. This is the first time because it's into the most populous region in the world.
Can you be
I have a
more
lot of these
concise
questions that to me
because
are not
we have to
answered.
give
So the only
opportunity
other
for
point is
Professor
no
to
alternative
answer.
have been presented. So
Yeah,
for
okay.
example,
Let
why don't
me-
you pour
let me
water
answer
into
you.
the Arctic Ocean?
Let me
For example.
Answer your question. Actually, important thing is, this is the first time you said, no, actually we have a more than 40 years experience. Then nothing happened. You see, Fukushima Daiichi was established in 1971, okay? Then about 50 years has passed. Then after Fukushima Daiichi was established, then continuously treating water is released into the ocean. Then, but 50 years, nothing happened, okay? Then currently, no effects have been found to caused by tritium. This is scientific fact. In addition to this, other countries also do the same thing, okay? This is the first thing. Also, if you read the IAEA comprehensive report, I did it 5 times, okay? Then you talk about the future generation, you talk about the effect to the future generation. Actually, IAEA report already addressed that one, okay? Then IAEA report classified the people into the 3 categories. One is infant, one is child, one is a young guy, like a 20. Then they applied the calculation model, then calculated the actual effect, radiation effect. Then radiation effect is far below 1 million, 1 over 1 million. So this means the risk is negligible. This is a fact. Then second thing is, as I can say that, this is the first time the contaminated water to the ocean or atmosphere. This is, your understanding is not correct, because the 3 Mile Island accident happened, right? Like 40 years ago. Then at the time also treating water was a problem. Then at the time, amount of the treating water is rather small. That's the reason why United States government decided to release the treating water into the atmosphere. So this is not the first time to release the water from the accident reactor. These are things, okay? Also, you can see this slide. Then ultimately, regulatory safety standard is very important, okay? So no matter accident reactor or owner reactor, it doesn't matter. So actually the contaminated water, radiation, radioactive materials is basically removed by the ALPS. Then, radiation level of the diluted ALPS-treated water is well below regulatory safety standard. This scheme, eventually the same, okay? Another thing is why it takes 30 years. The reason is Japanese government is too hyper-conservative. Actually, if Japanese government try to utilize a maximum level for safety, actually Japanese government can finish the discharge within 3 years, but they worry about the reputation damage. That's the reason why, Japanese government tried to dilute the ALPS-treated water 100 times. That's the reason why it takes 30 years. But if Japanese government utilize a maximum like this, you see, here, 10 times, okay? So if Japanese government utilize 10 times like Shenzhen nuclear power plant did, then 30 years can be 3 years, okay? Then why 30 years? Because Japanese government utilized a negligible small amount of the radiation level release. This is a fact. So I think,
Professor, I'm sorry to cut in on your answer on that. I have to cut in because what your figure is only the concentration of tritium released. You haven't told us the back actually how much actually they release.
This is how much.
This is how much.
Not concentration.
But you talk about the WHO, whatever thing, the drinking water. They are all talk about concentration.
There are
They're
two
not
categories.
about those.
One is a total amount, another is a concentration.
Well, could you please tell me in that case how much of those previously in 30 years released in the water compare what now Japan wishes to release this 100 whatever ton water in terms of comparison, in terms of dosage, please?
22 terabecquerel. Okay, this is amount. Okay, so basically there are two categories. One is concentration. Concentration-wise, 1/7 of drinking water. Okay. Second one is amount. Okay. Then amount is a 22 becquerel. Actually, this 22 becquerel is far below other nuclear power plant. That the reason is why Japanese government decided to.
The question I'm asking you is not talking about. I'm talking about the total amount of those 1,000 whatever tons of the Japanese contaminated water. How much tritium actually you release to the environment? How much are they?
This one, I said this one.
Well, in total,
you
got 1,000 tons of things storage.
Tritium
How many
is
is
here.
that 1,000 tons in there?
Tritium water is here. Okay. 1,000 tons water.
You talk about poison. Poison, you say how much poison you release. That's the one I'm asking for.
1,000 water include pure water, heavy water, tritium water. Okay. Then amount of tritium water is like this. Only 16 grams in a 1,000 tanks. 1,000 tanks, 1,000 tanks, about 1.3 tons water. But among 1.3 tons, only 16 gram tritium water. That's it.
Thank you for the clarification. That is very important.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, we thank you, Sam Wong from Australia, for giving his opinion. We see that there's also another raised hand, that is Albert Yip, also from Australia, from
Melbourne. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Four observations which I like Professor to explain. Number one, when you put up the equation, safety equals 1 minus risk. Unfortunately, this is not the most accurate representation.
Yeah.
Because we know that risk will associate with effects. A small risk with a huge effect should have a weighted average higher than just the risk. So unfortunately, you haven't used a more expressive equation to represent that one. Secondly, the second point observation is about the total amount, which you have already addressed. So I will skip over this. And the third questions I have is you are arguing that whatever amount of water that is already currently stored is safe for release after dilution. My simple question is, why don't you use this amount of water to cool the current reactor repeatedly, so that there is no need to discharge this water into the ocean. Now, secondly, I also observed that the current space used to store this water is relatively small. It is easy to extend the storage area, say by a factor of 2 or 3. Then we will have the capability to store the water for another 20, 30 years. By then, we probably will have a better technology to extract the very valuable tritium from the water, because we know that the world is now moving towards fusion technology. Once that technology becomes mature, tritium will be a very valuable nuclei. And when you release this into the ocean, that it will be diluted. When you keep it at concentration form, future extraction will be much more cost effective. So another, the fourth observation is that when you discharge this tritium into the ocean, it will be mixed with water, and therefore it will get evaporated, and that becomes rain. And the effect is not limited only to the Pacific Ocean. It will be distributed throughout the world. Yes, it might be a very small risk, but as I said, the impact is huge, a very large impact here. So we cannot simply say safety equals 1 minus risk. So sorry, I don't accept that assumption. That is totally wrong, and it's not scientific. Thank you. I'd like to hear your answer. Thank you.
Actually, this safety is equal to 1 minus risk. Then this is utilized to, of course, you are the scientist, then I don't need to bring this one. But if in order to just explain the risk and the safety, then this simple, equation is often utilized in a safety engineering. That's the reason why I utilize it. Then actually the assessment is already done in the IAEA comprehensive report. Then radiation risk is 1 divided to 1 million. Against the safety
excuse
level.
me, Professor, let me put in another argument here. If you say safety is 1 minus risk, may I ask why in the first place the diesel generator, which will keep the cooling water running, is put into basement, given that the east coast of Japan is exposed to earthquakes and tsunami? This is a known fact. Of course, I know when we are doing the engineering, we say, oh, this is a small factor, so we don't care. Or you can say, oh, we have multiple sources of energy. For example, you have several reactors. So the chance of all these fail at the same time is very small. But nature has already happened. It told us the answer. The answer is that, yes, the risk is small, but it is still a huge impact. If the design hasn't put the diesel generator in the basement, we don't have this accident. So if you only argue about without taking into the effect of the risk, it is a totally simplistic argument. Yes, my background is in physics, so I understand mathematics, but unfortunately, I can't accept that argument. Thank you.
Then actually, you said that evaporation happened, okay? But actually, releasing the amount of the tritium is much lower than the. Since you are the physicist, you know that every year tritium is created due to the interaction between some species and also sunlight. Okay, then if we consider the total inventory of the tritium, then 22 terabecquerel is almost negligible. Also, as you can see, actually the Japan every year 22 trillion becquerel per year. Those tritium is hit to the Japan as a form of the rain. Okay, then basically, when we release the tritium water into the ocean, then we cannot distinguish the tritium level in the ocean before and after. So this means that substantially no effect. Then this is the first thing. The second thing is actually IAEA comprehensive report already estimated what's the effect. Then there is some radiation constraint. Okay. Then this radiation constraints, then risk is basically 1/1,000 to the 1 million. So this means that even this ALPS-treated water is released into the ocean, but substantially negligible effect. This is the assessment by the IAEA. Then another question is actually, there is several spaces. There should be additional spaces to store the additional tank, but this is not true. Actually, I had a chance to visit the Fukushima power plant by myself last March. Then there are no spaces to the tank. That's the reason why they try to eliminate the tank. So did I address all questions? Except for the one minus risk.
Yeah, thank you for your answer, but I would like to follow up a little bit. Unfortunately, at the moment, the reactor is still active. It hasn't stopped. And therefore, the radiation will be generating until whatever the reactor actually stops.
Yeah, excuse me.
The estimate of the amount of radiation you are going to release is a guesswork. There is no scientific evidence of that. It is only this amount of tritium. Sorry, I don't accept that, because the reactor itself is still running. That's why you still need cooling water. And therefore, the amount of tritium produced is continuous. We don't know what happened next time, or a few months later, the reactor might suddenly become very active.
No, nuclear reactor already shut down, but
you can't shut it down. You haven't, because
actually,
you cannot
due
put
to the
moderator.
core meltdown, only
You have already shut down. Why is it still so hot that you need water?
Important thing is actually actually groundwater just comes into the reactor core region. Also rain, because nuclear reactor building is broken. That's the reason why rainwater goes into the debris section. Also, like a groundwater comes in. So the Tokyo Electric Power Company
do not need cooling water, then you don't need to discharge the water.
We need to cool down the debris. Okay.
You need
then
to
heat
cool it
is
down
not
because
so high,
it is
but
an
still
energy
we need
source.
to.
It is generating heat, and therefore it haven't stopped.
Yeah, but not like a full-time operation.
You don't need
small amount of the chain reaction happen. Not like a full operation.
Of course, not like full operation, but
yes,
God knows when it will suddenly becomes like a, because you have
this never
control
happened.
of
I do not agree with that.
Reactor core at the moment. You have control of the reactor core.
Right.
You have stopped it, and no more heat generated. But you cannot control the reactor core.
Even the nuclear reactor shut down, still residual heat is produced.
So saying that the reactor has already shut down is wrong. If it is shut down, you don't need cooling water. Okay?
No, we need. Reactor shut down. Still, residual heat is generated.
Nuclear reactors, which have properly shut down, never needs cooling. Don't bullshit, please. You are a professor. Okay? I don't want to say that.
Even nuclear reactor is safely shut down.
You don't need cooling water.
Otherwise, we cannot.
Simple physics. If it has already shut down, it will not need cooling.
No. Even if we shut down the nuclear reactor, then it takes time
a different
to make a cold shutdown.
If I can. Is there a disagreement? Is Sam Wong here? Could I ask a different question?
Yutao has raised his hand. Can we give an opportunity for Yutao to ask his question? Thank you. Yutao.
Professor, I'd like to ask a simple question, if I may. Sam Wong here. You have mentioned about number of options about disposal of those contaminated, which is very helpful. But one of the couple of things I'd like to add a little bit of information that you can help me to understand better. Is that all right? Now,
Yes.
the first thing about it, yes, the first thing is about you thinking if you currently store in those stainless steel tank, it might leak, which is true. I agree with you. Now, the question is they are better material than stainless steel and actually could store those water for many hundreds of years. Now, the question is resource, how much you want to invest in. That's number one. The other option you mentioned about using a geological stable environment like burial to put it in. Now, I could share this with you. It's no national secret. In the center of Australia, we have a number of sites, geological stable, and they are already, different country already store radioactive contaminant material in Central Australia. And we're happy to accept that because nobody lived there, not even kangaroo. Okay, and therefore there are options that using burial or other form, as Mr. Yip to talk about, that basically we might have a newer technology in the future to decontaminate tritium in a lesser toxic form, but the technology not there, but store the contaminant water until the time when the technology arrives. But in those environments, you won't attend to have effect to the not just the human beings, but all the aquatic life in the ocean potentially, now say potentially have a problem. Now, so far, this last comment, I have not seen, you might have seen, I have not seen that those tritium, various concentration, dilute or otherwise, how does it affect the environmental, both like coral, like fish and other things? Now, I'm very concerned for my part of the world. We have a Great Barrier Reef, one of the wonders in the world. And I was also involved in a Greenpeace as well. And we are trying our best to protect our barrier reef and all the other aquatic life. And therefore, Professor, if you could please explain to me whatever way, and I'm very appreciative. Thank you, Professor.
Sam, now, thank you for your question. And after Professor answering your question, we need to give opportunity for Wei Yutao because he has raised his hands for a very long time. So
thank you.
After Professor answering,
thank you, moderator.
Please give it to Yutao. And we also have someone on site having questions. Okay, now let Professor answer.
Yeah,
Sam.
Actually, effect of the tritium. Actually, I talk about the tritium, but at the same time, and the cesium and also strontium and iodine and antimony and technetium, all those possible radioactive materials also considered. Concentration is well below the standard. So this means that today I talk about the tritium. I emphasize tritium, but in addition to this, like carbon-14 and I said tritium and cesium, also those radioactive materials level is very, very low. Then well below, almost 1% or 2% against the regulation level. Okay, then this is the first thing. The second thing is actually cesium concentration in say the fish is based on like seawater. So the cesium level of the fish is related to the concentration of cesium in seawater. So unlike like mercury is very notorious, right? Because mercury will be accumulated in a fish. So some people say that we shouldn't eat a tuna because the tuna is polluted by the, some tuna is polluted by the, mercury. Okay. But radioactive material like cesium, the situation is different. Also, like tritium is not concentrated in in a fish. So that in that sense, situation is different. In addition to this, IAEA spent one chapter to address the effect to the marine biota, as well as the like a human being. Then according to this IAEA report, actually they applied some model to evaluate the effect of the radioactive material to the marine biota. Then they pick up the three species. One is a flounder, one is a crab, one is a seaweed. Then the calculated result is 1 divided 1 million. This is a radiation level against the acceptable level. So in that sense, of course, if you believe the IAEA comprehensive report, basically the effect of radiological effect to the marine biota and environment is negligible.
Okay, now can we have a Yu Tao? Yu Tao, can you turn on your mic and ask a question?
I'm in. Thank you, moderator, and thank you, professor.
Thank you very much.
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
I have a couple questions regarding your presentation.
Yes.
Well, I'm afraid my connection may not be that good, so I will try to say them slowly.
Yes.
First of all, you always talk about the Japanese standard and also how mature the industry is.
Yes.
But I would like to know if there is any prior example of dumping water that really get into contact with the core of a radioactive core. That has water really in contact with the core and we dump it into water. I think that's the very first case in human history, right?
No. No.
So we have dump water that has been in contact with radioactive core.
Actually, you know, 3 Mile Island happened, right? 3 Mile Island accident happened.
3 Mile Island, that's the second tier.
Actually, 3 Mile Island
and that's happened. Already a disaster. And we are repeating the same disaster again.
No. 3 Mile Island, no disaster. Not Chernobyl.
No disaster?
Not Chernobyl. 3 Mile Island in the United States. Not Chernobyl.
Okay. Perhaps let me finish my question first, and then I'll wait for your response then, Professor.
Sure.
Okay. And talking about the Japanese standard, I knew that after the
Excuse me, excuse me, mic is muted, so please explain.
Yu Tao, we didn't hear you. Can you turn on your mic?
So the first comment is, so the first question is, is this the first time to release the treated water into the environment? This is the first question, I understand. Please explain the second.
The question is have we ever released water that have been in direct contact with the radioactive core into the environment?
Okay, I understand the first question. What is the second question? Okay,
and talking about the Japanese standard, I knew that Japan has raised the standard of the radioactive content in food shortly after the earthquake in 2011. And have you lowered down the standard again, or still using the raised standard as the new standard forever?
Okay. Radioactive.
And the first question is regarding the beta radiation that you have been talking about, the tritium. I don't think you have told the complete truth. You have been talking about beta radiation being weak, that can be blocked by a piece of paper.
Yes.
But actually, what will happen if the beta radiation source is inside our body? The harm will be much greater. But you have not mentioned this. I don't think that's the complete truth of the radiation hazard, right?
Okay.
And talking about talking about the entire industry, you have told us so many times that is a very mature industry. So I believe there are so many experts on Earth, not just you, Professor. And every government has their own board of experts that help them to decide what they are going to do. Why so many countries still working against Japan releasing the water into the ocean?
Okay, is that all?
Yeah, I think.
Okay,
that's
then
okay.
first,
Can you let the
yeah,
professor
first,
answer?
yeah, first, I think, so many countries are against. I don't think so. For example, the Korea agree, and also even the Australia agree. United States also. As far as I know, only China, Hong Kong, Macau, those three countries and the region and oppose. This is a understanding. Okay. Then second thing is beta radiation. Okay. So when we intake the radioactive material, yes, this affect the health. But those also estimated in the IAEA standard, okay? Then basically, even we intake those radioactive like tritium, then effect is negligible. So this is a fact, okay? Then third one is, so far we have 3 nuclear accidents. First one is a 3 Mile Island accident. Second one is Chernobyl. Third one is Fukushima. Okay, then as far as I know, 3 Mile Island, then no harm to the environment. Then Chernobyl, this is a disaster. So many people are killed. But Fukushima accident, nobody are killed due to the radiation. Okay, then when the first nuclear accident happened in 3 Mile Island, at the time, tritium, some part of the core is melted. Then tritium water is created. Then this tritium is evaporated, released to the atmosphere. So this is the first example. Then this time, like Fukushima, we have tritium. Then we are going to release the tritium water into the ocean. This is a second thing. A second example. I think I answered those 3 questions with a very shortly.
Okay, now thank you, Professor, for answering Yu Tao. Now we will have Teresa.
Can I have a follow-up question on this? Because
the question. Then after that, Florence, FL.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have 3 questions.
3, yes.
And then actually I propose to use the tritium water using cavitational bubbles. Cavitational bubbles.
Yes.
For nuclear fusion for clean energy. Yeah. I think this is viable. Yeah. So this is not a question. This is my proposal.
I see.
I was.
This is the first comment, right?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, this is proposed in July, and I have a Japanese translation already. I can pass it to you. Okay. Yeah, and the second question is, how do we got this 16 gram? How is this derived?
Actually, go ahead. This is second. Right?
Yeah, and the third question is, because the release of the water is from 30 meters high, and there's flush over 1 kilometer to the ocean. So, so what is the how far is the water flushed to actually? So 1 kilometer from the coast, right? So with the it's high up, and then with the pressure, that would be fresh. Right? Yeah. So that's my
like
question.
a water jet, right?
Yeah, like a water
so
jet.
the first comment, tritium. Okay. Yeah, this is an interesting idea, but I also checked it. But actually, tritium concentration is too low.
Yeah,
that's
so
the reason.
That's why we shouldn't have diluted in the first place.
Even before dilution, tritium concentration is very low. That's the reason. So if you think, for example, if we just get the treatment from those ALPS-treated water, probably this may be a little bit difficult because they're too diluted. So it's really difficult to concentrate. That's the reason.
Yeah.
Then,
Yeah, but we can think about it.
Yeah.
The transverse jets. Yeah, we can do the cavitation bubbles and then we can.
I see.
So
Okay.
think about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Then second thing is 16 grams. Actually, this can be calculated based on total radiation becquerel per. They sample it, then they measure the radiation level. Then from here and
work it back.
Yes. Then actually, this calculation method is available in the Wikipedia. Also.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think this Japanese version Wikipedia, absolutely yes. Treating water, Wikipedia, then the Japanese, then go there.
Yeah.
Then you cut and paste to the translator.
Okay.
Then you can get. Then third thing is a 30 meter. Actually, let's see. From here to here, I mean that originally tank is located 30 meter from the sea level. But first, this 30 meter, located the water is transferred to the sea the river here. Then mix up the sea water. Then this will be sent to the discharge port, right? Then basically, according to the IAEA report, they are going to report what is the flow rate after discharge start.
Yeah.
Then concentration also. So that unless they announce this one on the online, I do not have the idea. But not like so fast jet. The important, yes. Yeah. The important thing is actually effect of the ALPS-treated water discharge into the ocean is confined within a 3 kilometer or 2 kilometer area.
Oh, yes,
so very, very small area. For example, like here, from here to here, 1 kilometer. Then as you can see, the color is almost same, right?
Yeah.
This means that the tritium level is almost same as seawater level.
Within the 3 kilometers.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we thank you, Teresa So for her questions. Now, is Florence here? Florence, can you turn on your mic and ask your question? Sorry for keeping you waiting so long. Florence, FL.
Mute.
Okay. Now, in this case, I will ask on behalf of Florence. Please give me 1 minute. Florence's question was, Professor, will you or your children or your grandchildren dare to drink a cup of water of WHO tritium level every day to show you trust on safety claim of WHO? Or how about 50% less tritium level? Moreover, how about other unknown elements other than tritium? I would call it risk, unbearable risk for me as a non-scientist.
Actually, even people really worry about radiation, but even banana has radiation. Even the, abalone has radiation.
Yeah.
Okay, because abalone include polonium. Okay.
Yeah.
Then, for example, I can give you the one example. Every day we drink ALPS-treated water. Okay, 1,500 becquerel per liter. Every day we drink 2 liters of this ALPS-treated water. Every day, 2 liters. Okay, then continue 1 year. Then radiation level is the same as 1 piece of the abalone. So you do not need to think about it. But daily life, you eat banana, daily life, you eat abalone, then you intake several like radioactive radiation, radioactive stuff, but still we are okay. So the, radiation, if radiation doesn't reach like 100 sievert per year, 100 sievert, then no risk for cancer is identified. So until we reach a certain limit, significant effect for the radiation to the health is identified.
Now, I hope that the professor's answer is has answered the questions of Florence. And also, I would like to ask Professor, that is, now, the half-life of tritium, as I search on the web, is 12.5 years.
Yes.
For the half-life. That means after 12.5 years, the concentration or the radiation level should be half.
Yes.
Now, if that is the case, if Japanese, would it be more advisable if Japanese government keep it for another 12.5 years so that the level becomes 1/4 before they put it somewhere or discharge it?
I see.
Yeah.
Actually, I try to stick with the scientific things, but since I know something, I can give you some information. Actually, important thing is even now, the contaminated water is created continuously. The reason is, of course, in order to cool down if we just utilize some part of water, then cool down the debris, then this is a closed system, right? Then no more contaminated water.
Yeah.
Theoretically, this is true.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, as I said, underground water, rain, just migrate to the debris region.
Right.
Then, of course, in order to avoid those invasion, Tokyo Electric Power Company just put several barriers. Still, underground water and the rain is going to the, debris level. That's the reason every day, certain amount of tritium contaminated water is created, unfortunately, every day.
I see.
Then we need to think about it. So the IAEA spent 6 years. Then, also IAEA said that time constraint is also important because we already have 1,000 tanks.
Yeah.
Then every day, small amount of the contaminated water is created. This means that almost no space. Then it's time to dispose. This is also suggestion by the IAEA. IAEA said, Fukushima Daiichi, you have so many treated water. You should, think about the disposal of this untreated water. This is a suggestion by the IAEA.
Okay. Now, there's also some people, they make some wild suggestion. That's like, now, you have so much water generated. Can you use the water to mix with concrete? When the concrete solidify, they are a cube. So the water inside the concrete will be confined as a cube. Then this concrete block maybe can send to Central Australia because in there's a desert, dig a hole and put it there. Is this possible? What's your view?
Actually, I know that some people recommend that way, but what is the volume of that? Okay, so far there are over 1 million, then diluted. This means 100 million. Then how many concrete do you need? This is the first thing. Also, those concrete should be, shipped to the somewhere, but Australian people may not like it, right? Then I don't know. But actually, my understanding is, as you can see here, out of many more theoretical options considered, they consider 5 plausible like a way.
Right.
Then I don't know, they consider the concrete, but basically, those 5 is the most plausible.
Yeah. I think right now why people are so objection to discharge to the sea is because they thought that discharge to the sea, then the fish or other sea product would take up those radioactive things, and then they are being eaten by human being. So the food chain, eventually it will come to people, human beings. So that is the worry. So that's why the people in Hong Kong, although they like Japanese sushi so much, right now they are very worried about whether they should eat sushi for fish from Fukushima.
I see. Actually, IAEA report, if you read the IAEA report, then, they introduced a representative person and then to evaluate radiation risk. Representative person is a kind of almost, he likes a fish very much, okay? Also, he swim the more than several hundred hours per year. And also he's a fisherman.
Yeah.
Then, of course, I don't think those people exist, but we conservatively, we set the person who are affected by the radiation very, very much. Then we utilize this assumption. Still, risk, the risk level is 1 divided by 1 million. So that, in that sense, Mariano Grossi emphasized that this is a negligible effect. Negligible means negligible. So that even if you eat those sashimi, sushi, I don't think we have a problem.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor.
Yeah.
Now we also have
Sure.
Teresa to ask another questions.
Alex, do you hold the more?
Thank you very much.
This is not the questions. This is you talk about the tritium is the concentration is too low for clean energy, for nuclear fusion. Clean energy. But
tritium in seawater maybe too low, probably.
Yeah, but how about we use this method, the cavitational bubbles method, to dilute to minimize the concentration of tritium in the ALPS-treated water. So at least, right? We can treat the water in this way using the cavitational bubbles. Yeah.
But if this is if this is a proven technology, the Japanese government is happy to use it. Yeah. But so far we have they have time constraints.
Yeah, think about it. Let's say for 1 more year, let scientists come to a solution, or slow down the releasing, save the water first, because this cavitational bubbles technology is viable. It's viable. Yeah.
But
ask them to think about it. Yeah, this is my urge.
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, right now we see that Alex raised his hands. We will give this last question to Alex, then the seminar ends. Okay, Alex,
thank you.
Are you there?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Professor, you
Yes.
gave very convincing argument about the safety of pouring the water into the ocean, and it's supported by AAE and USA and all the other, at least some of the countries, and it's safe. And you even use the example of banana and so on. So, but again, the question is, because you're pouring the water into the most populous region, right? And if it is so safe and confirmed by IAEA, and we talk about alternatives, right? And we spend most of the time talking about alternative, which probably, I think you seem to have a convincing argument of looking at all the alternative except for the time. But even time, there's a question that we can delay that. But anyway, my basic point is, why not pour the water into a region that's least populated, for example, in the Arctic Ocean, or in the USA, or in the Pacific Ocean, or the Atlantic Ocean. Why not do that as an alternative if they are considered so safe by the other countries?
Okay. Unfortunately, this is a violation of the international law. We cannot bring the, we prepare the cargo ship, okay? Then we put the ALPS-treated water into the cargo ship. Then we bring this cargo ship to the Article Sea, then dump it into the those sea, less population. But this is a violation of international law. That's the reason we cannot do it.
Well, the law is created by people, by men, so why not
That's true.
change it, petition the United Nations to change the law? If otherwise, you put 3 billion people at jeopardy at the expense of Japanese.
But if we do so, a lot of, I don't know, I stop it because this is a kind of political, things. So I try to stick the, important thing is actually, since I'm Japanese, so the people may think that I really support the Japanese government. But what today try to explain is like based on the IAEA report. Okay, those things are based on the IAEA report, not like political purpose. So this is my last comment.
Okay, now right now it's already 12 o'clock, so our time for the seminar is up. We thank everyone for attending, and this time we cannot accept any more
Questions.
So,
Moderator, you have promised me to have some time for my follow-up questions. May I use 1 or 2 minutes
okay,
time?
now are you Chow? Yeah, please put your question very briefly and let Professor answer you very briefly. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Actually, I had a chance to give the presentation in several organization, but today's seminar is the most exciting and enjoyable because I received so many technical questions, and also I realized that the audience is a very, very professional. I really appreciate your attendance to my seminar. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Professor. And I would like to point out that you have said that China is the only country that is against the dumping of the radioactive water. I'm afraid that's not true. Russia is also against this, and and actually all the countries that you have raised, they are allies of the United States. And I believe that a lot of countries do against this. At least the citizens will against this. I'm not a political person, but I believe there are so many demonstrations, etc., in Korea, in Japan as well. So I think you better look at this as well. And there are a lot of scholars standing up and pointing at the Japan government for the irresponsibility. And talking about the background radiation, we all understand there is background radiation in the world. But do we really need to increase the background radiation by doing something artificial to affect it? That I doubt. No space to dump the water, I don't think so. Just like Albert Yip has pointed out that the radioactive core is still active. The chain reaction is still ongoing. That's a lie that the radioactive core is inactive. And if there is still need to cool down the core, why don't you use the already radioactive water to cool down the core?
We do it.
Pumping new seawater to cool the core. And the last question is,
we didn't do it.
Even if the risk is really, really low, do we need to everyone in Asia need to take the responsibility on Japan's behalf? I don't think that's fair, right?
But you utilize a nuclear energy, right? In that case, nuclear power plant from the Korea, China, Taiwan, Japan, all release the tritium into the ocean.
No. Not
Then
just
you
talking
can get
about
the
tritium,
benefit
but-
to use
but-
electrolysis.
But we are talking about water that in direct contact with
It
the
doesn't matter.
radioactive core.
It doesn't matter.
And tritium is also a problem. Even
No,
we have
no.
already checked the ALPS website in Japan. There
No,
are some
actually, the
cesium
water is clean
treated water that
enough.
still contain tritium. Yes.
Those are the water
Okay.
is clean
Thank
enough.
you. Thank you.
If Japanese government release contaminated water into the ocean, yes, I oppose it. But Japanese government TEPCO clean up the contaminated water, then like a diluted, like a clean up level, then risk is very small. That's the reason why they discharge. So this is totally different. And in addition to this, you said that you know, a lot of people protested the releasing the discharging the ALPS-treated water. Actually, when I went to the Fukushima, I directly talked to the many people, including fishermen. Okay, fishermen oppose. The reason is not like a radioactive, like a risk, because of the reputation damage. Okay, Fukushima people know that, and you know, discharged, you know, ALPS-treated water. Radiation level is negligible, no problem at all. Fukushima people know it because when I talk to them, many people, all of them know it. But what they worry about is reputation damage. That's the reason why, you know, once ALPS-treated water is released into the ocean, people may not purchase the fish. Actually, fishermen worry about it. That's the reason why they oppose. So the reason for the oppose is totally different, not like a risk. Actually, the reason for the opposition is basically due to the reputation damage. Who make a reputation damage? This is a problem.
Okay. I think Professor has already answered the questions of Yutao. And we wish to thank Professor for his great speech. And
excuse me, one more thing. Actually, important thing is in order to cool down the debris, okay? So the this water is recycled, okay, to cool down the debris. But as I said, due to the rainwater and also groundwater, contaminated water is increased, so that we will not, you know, bring the seawater to cool down the debris. Okay.
Okay. Now, and also before I end up today's seminar, there's one thing I would like to speak on behalf of Professor. Professor Hibiki, today he comes as a scientist who is teaching in City University of Hong Kong and also in Purdue University. He speaks from a scientific angle, scientific aspect. He does not represent Japanese government. So if you have anything that you are not happy with what the Japanese government do, write them a letter, give them demonstration, whatever. Professor only provide his opinion or aspect in a scientific way. So we should thank you, Professor, for what he has done. And then the second thing which I would like to say is that 2 weeks from now on August 26th, Saturday, we have another seminar. The topic is 從鴉片戰爭到香港故事的演繹，反映的深層次問題。講者謝炳堅，主持曹啟樂，就時間上午10時至中午12時。So we would invite everyone who is interested in this topic to join us on August 26th, 2023. And let's give a big hand to Professor Hibiki.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
So the seminar ends here. Thank you. Yeah.
Recording stopped.
葉就好，
你好啊，余導。
哇，聽到一肚氣啊！
唔緊要啊，一陣我哋 download 咗落嚟，我哋自己再做。
係啊，冇啊，因為小弟都同阿曹教授有講過，咁樣曹教授就唔想喺佢嗰度出現，咁所以錄咗落嚟之後咧，我哋再逐點擊破佢。
啊，
即係咧，其實呢個 professor 咧，佢擺到明咧，佢係立場先決咯，佢根本咧冇將完全嘅事實講出嚟，乜嘢 professor 呢啲？
嗱，佢用嗰條 safety 等於一減 risk。
黐線咯，其實呢個根本就唔啱咯，你駁得佢好好啊。
呢個 simplistic 應該係個 risk times effect， 然之後 summation， 咁然之後先啱噶嘛。
唔係，我以前咧學過 risk management 咧，嗰個其實成個 risk 嘅 impact 咧應該等於 R 睇下先，等於個 risk 乘翻個 frequency， 再乘翻個 impact。係啦 ，RFI 應該係呢一條咁嘅式，唔係咩等於一減 risk 咯，黐線。
而且你 risk 唔係得一個噶嘛，你係嗰度嘅 risk 係一個 summation 嚟嘅，其實仲有唔同嘅 risk。譬如我淨係講你一個細，你初計嗰時，我放個 discharge generator 喺個